anyone ever asked you, what is your passion? I can get passionate about my family, my sports, my book reading, or travel. But recently, God spoke to me loudly and clearly about passion or zeal for Him. This is how it happened. My husband had a total knee replacement, and I was trying to take care of him. One day I was reviewing a verse from Romans 12, verse 11. Listen to this. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love, not lacking diligence, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. I realized I did not measure up. The Lord's word just pierced my heart. Has that ever happened to you? I started to study that verse some more. That word, diligence, it means quickly with zeal, promptly with eagerness. Some people think that zeal is just about a soccer game or a football hero. But I realized that zeal also is a key prescription or ingredient for joy. Joy that comes from obeying God. This is RX for Joy, Jackie, and I'm here to just give you a short encouragement today about living with zeal for God. Think about the Apostle Paul. He was full of joy all the time, even when he was in prison, when he was beaten almost to death, when he's shipwrecked. He kept saying to all the believers, rejoice in the Lord. I think his zeal for God is what kept him going year after year, all the way to the end of his life. And in this verse in Romans, he's urging us to have zeal. I thought about it and realized that I think we receive fresh zeal or fervency when we're born again. We would get this new heart that suddenly wants to obey and please God. I remember when I was a new believer, if God said, go get baptized, I went and got baptized. If he said, go on a mission trip, I went on a mission trip. If he said, go to church and give generously, I did it. My heart was just desiring to please him. 2 Corinthians 5:9 tells us, so whether we are at home or away, we make it our aim to please him, to please God. 2 Corinthians 5:14 and 15 say, for the love of Christ controls us, because we have concluded this, that one has died for all, therefore all have died. And he died for all, that those who live might no longer live for themselves, but for him who for their sake died and was raised. That we would no longer live for ourselves. So we go back to that verse, Romans 12:11. It tells us to not lack diligence. The New International Version says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. So why do so many believers seem to lack zeal? Maybe because our culture kind of mocks us if we have zeal for God or zeal for our faith. I can easily forget that I'm serving the Lord and not the world who criticizes me. Or maybe my love is just sometimes lukewarm. I need to renew that zeal, that fire. Probably that's the reason Paul is writing and urging the Romans to be diligent and zealous for the Lord. It's easy to get comfortable. It's easy just to seek our own way. I can think of lots of excuses. And that's why, as I looked at my own life, I realized God was speaking loudly and clearly through this verse for me personally. I was definitely lacking diligence and zeal in serving my husband. But what really helped me was that last part of the verse, serving the Lord. I do want to serve the Lord. I do want to make him happy. I do want to please him. So if that means serving someone else with not grudgingly and complaining, then that will give me a lot of joy. Bishop J.C. Ryle of Liverpool wrote a tract in 1852. He's describing people who are zealous for God. They see only one thing, care for one thing, live for one thing, are swallowed up on one thing, and that one thing is to please God. Whether they live or whether they die, whether they have health or sickness, whether rich or poor, whether they please others or give offense, whether they are thought wise or foolish, whether they get blame or praise, whether they get honor or shame, for all this, the zealous person cares nothing at all. He burns for one thing, and that one thing is to please God and to advance God's glory. That describes the Apostle Paul, and I hope someday it will describe me. But I want to be balanced here, and I don't want to discourage you. So let's keep in mind that God made us to enjoy his world, to take pleasure in our work and our accomplishments. It's okay to have zeal and passion for other things in this world. This verse will help us to keep it in balance. It's from Colossians 3:17. And whatever you do in word or deed, do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Whatever you do, I can do a lot of things. I can do everything in the name of the Lord Jesus with the right attitude, giving him glory as I do my many things. And here's one last quote. Zeal is good for a Christian's own soul. It will help mightily to promote inward feelings of joy, peace, comfort, and happiness. None have so much enjoyment of Christ as those who are ever zealous for his glory. That's a big thought to think about and to encourage us today. So here's my RX for joy. Whatever you do, do it for the Lord. Wake up and be zealous for the Lord. Wake up and be zealous for the Lord today.